Hey, this is Eric, starting up the next season of my league play. So, this is the Spring League. This is an opponent that I've played pretty much all of my leagues. I think he missed one or two leagues, but he's a perennial winner. He either wins or gets second in pretty much every league, so he's pretty good. So this past week, my focus was primarily on my footwork, which I think for the most part was pretty good. Really, the problem tonight was my serve was pretty inconsistent, and my forehand is just not pulling the same weight as my backhand is. A lot of the serves that do end up going in end up being pretty good, but I'm just double faulting far too often. So my plan going into playing him was to try and move him left and right, and try and win the battle of attrition or whatever, because it's pretty warm in Texas right now. It's about 85 degrees tonight, so that's why the wristband has come out, and tonight's the first night of electrolytes because it's what plants need in my water. I don't think I got especially tired. I got tired enough that he was able to start changing up and I wasn't able to adapt. So I guess I'll start talking about the individual points here. So that one was a double fault, and then I do manage to get it in and hit it long. So a lot of my serves that have gotten in have been pretty good. They get up around shoulder height on him, and considering how tall he is, that's pretty far up there. That was kind of a poor center or forward court, but I just didn't want to lose it to a smash that I didn't need to hit. So there was a one of those good serves. I believe that was a second serve. My first and second serve are hit the same way. I have enough spin on it that, assuming my technique is correct, I should just be able to go for the same thing all the time. This is a pretty decent rally. I managed to hit a little bit long, but kept it going back and forth for a little while. That's something. And then I double fault out the game. So there was an interesting conversation that I had with him after the match where he felt like my serve was very good and was pulling its weight in the game. And I was like, and he said that he didn't feel like I had double faulted that often, to which I responded, no, I'm pretty sure I double faulted quite a bit. He placed it somewhere around 4 or 5 maybe, and I was like, no, it's probably closer to 8 or 9. I haven't done an official tally, but I think it's probably much closer to 15 or 20 actually. There's a significant amount of double faults. Several games where I double fault twice, which is just completely unacceptable. So on the footwork front, I'm still doing the thing on my forehand where I'll misjudge how deep I believe the ball's going to be, and then I'll step forward and then end up needing to step back, and I'll hit my forehand falling backwards. That leads to me either trying to muscle it into play and generally hitting it long, or trying to lift it and get a whole bunch of cut on it to pull it in and then hitting it short. I just need to get that particular motion out. Like that was almost an example of it, I think. It was borderline. I'm definitely not driving through. So my serve has a lot of really good shape on it. See, that was an example of me falling backwards while hitting my forehand. I did it on that backhand as well. I don't do it as often with my backhand. And there I go. See, I was falling backwards, tried to muscle it, hit it too high. So it's interesting that he had a perception of my serve being much more effective than it actually was. I guess whenever it is in, it puts a fair amount of stress. And then this is just pretty good tennis, I think. I managed to work the point relatively well. I mean, he's moving me around and eventually forces me away, but there was a lot of well-placed balls there, and so in this game I realized that I wasn't getting the lateral movement from him that I wanted, and so I figured that I'd try and get him to move forward and backwards. It worked for the first 2 points. We called a let point on that due to the person wandering behind the active point. I don't manage to capitalize on getting the do-over. He manages to win. But basically, he figures out what I'm doing and adjusts appropriately. So I can't just drop right away, and then I can't I can't keep the short game going. Once he knows what's up, then he's good enough to compensate for it. And my short game isn't strong enough to jam it through. So there was another double fault. Generally, I'm double faulting into the net because I'm cutting over the top of the ball more, which I guess for the type of serve it is kind of, I don't know if it's the better way to do it. It's probably overall the safer way to do it. I'm definitely trying to generate more depth, and I think that on average my serve is getting more depth than it has in the past. But too many double faults. So that's him pulling me up into the net just to get me running. So there was a falling backwards. It managed to stay in because I guess I'm pretty practiced at falling backwards on my forehand at this point. But like that was a much better forehand because I actually leaned into it. He also said another interesting thing, that he started actually trying to avoid my backhand for the most part during rallies because it seemed like the more consistent and more accurate shot, and I was just able to pick him apart on that. So he was focusing on trying to get depth to my forehand and caused me to fall backwards, like so. I don't know if that really counts because it's a serve, but same concept. His second serve is probably more exploitable than what I do to it. That's kind of a confidence issue and not really having the stroke to attack second serve. I think I've talked about that before. For the most part, I just want to. So I was kind of proud of that backhand. It was an awkward shot, and I managed to get quite a bit of spin on it and quite a bit of depth and salvage something. So yet another double fault. That's kind of a trend. It makes it really difficult to win games whenever you just donate a point consistently every game, or more, as may be the case here. So he ran into the point. He insisted that I take two. I didn't really want to, but I did. Double faulted anyway, so that's 2 double faults this game. That makes it extraordinarily difficult to win the game. A couple decent place points, then he gets a let cord. I actually get that let cord back here fairly rapidly. I think it's this game to actually keep it from even being a deciding factor. See, like he's taking that serve that's going relatively short in the box at the shoulders, so I'm generating plenty of kick. I just need to get a little bit more pace on it and consistency, and it'll be an excellent serve. So I think I set that point up and then just wasn't able to convert the half volley over into the open side of the court. I should have been able to get there. I had the positioning, just not quite fast enough. So that was a falling backwards forehand. Classic Eric at this point. I just need to get out there and drill that. So speaking of drills, that's actually kind of a dilemma that I've been having while watching this video of if I get to go out and drill once this week, do I drill my serve or do I drill my forehand? I think both need a little bit of work. I can generally steal, an hour and a half or whatever just for serve, kind of in a gap that I have between activities. So maybe I'll try and focus on working my forehand, assuming that I can get a ball machine. So that was kind of a slice into a slice into a slice. I mean, I got him to move fairly well. It wasn't deep. It was kind of a gambit of him not being able to cover it, but even though he's pretty old, he can motor along. Definitely not slow. If I could move him consistently, I might be able to wear him down eventually, but he's in pretty good shape, pretty quick, and tall. Nice long reach. I guess I talked about against the previous tall person that I played of needing to slice more often, but I think he has a strong enough slice game, as has been demonstrated, that if it just became slice back and forth forever, I think he'd win that one pretty consistently. So I think that when I'm returning serve, I'm doing better about split stepping consistently. I'd kind of like to be split stepping into the court, so either lining up further back or... So that was a good point. He had me on a string and ran me back and forth, but I was able to stay into point long enough for him to hit a single short shot that I could get to, not on the run, and hit a pretty good down the line winner. But anyways, I'm doing better about split stepping on the serve, but I'd like the split step to be into the court, more so than the just straight up and down. The people that I generally play aren't threatening me with pace on the serve, so I should be split stepping forward to make a decision on, forehand or backhand, and how early can I take it, not how much do I need to wait for it to come to me. So once again, that's up around the shoulder. That's pretty good. Just need to be able to do that every time. I think I double faulted once that last game. So I was trying to get there with the short game, but he's wise to it at this point, so it's pretty much a waste at this point. The short game's just kind of one of those haha I gotcha type things that it works if they're bad, but I don't think he's bad at all. So I managed to top spin one into his feet, and that is something that I think that he's relatively weak at, is that if I can get him into the net and then hit a top spin to him, he generally doesn't get that. So that was an excellent point there. I moved him wide and then started moving in to take advantage of his weakened position and hit to the open court. That's just kind of what tennis should be. So if I could do that every time, I'd be pretty happy. So that was a slice that I didn't really want to hit. I wasn't there fast enough on the serve, and so all I had was a slice. So he gifted a game to me on a double fault. I'll take it. I think I probably still came out behind. So there I am slicing it a little bit too much. Second one, I stay committed and get a little bit of depth. So this one I actually thought was long during the game, but he played it, so had to get back in gear. That's always a challenge when you're trying to conserve energy during a match of playing the point out until they actually call it, as opposed to deciding for yourself that the point is over. Their side, their call. So I hit a backhand falling away there, and I obviously wasn't able. So that particular one, the ball hit a leaf. You'll notice that there's leaves scattered about the close side of the court, but there was like a singular leaf on the opposite side of the court, and the ball hit there and took kind of a slippery bounce, I guess. It jumped towards me more than I expected it to. That was a break point and kind of unfortunate, but them's the breaks. So overall, I think my movement in this match is pretty good. I think my footwork around my forehand is still problematic. Like there, I mean, I had the ball short, I got to stop, and then I still was falling backwards on my forehand, and that's just, unacceptable. I need to be driving through the court on my forehand. Earlier in the week, whenever I was kind of working on the footwork things that I was doing, I started noticing that I was hitting everything quite a bit long. I think just because I was generating slightly more power than I was used to due to having better footwork, which is a good problem to have, I guess, but definitely something that I need to keep in mind and develop my stroke so that I can generate a little bit more topspin consistently and keep the ball in play. That's not something that I thought I'd ever say, is that I need to generate more topspin. So there's another light chord. I don't get payoff this time. He manages to dump it back, and I was lollygagging behind the line. So some of these I'm trying to... There, I double faulted a game out again. Some of those serves I'm trying to aim for more direction rather than depth. And my coach was saying that really I need to be focusing on consistency, then depth, then placement. So I'm kind of skipping a couple steps there, right? I think that working on consistency and depth at the same time is probably reasonable. I think the consistency is largely a function of my toss being inconsistent. It being as windy as it was today doesn't help that cause at all, but the toss is still inconsistent. It's getting better.